May the record reflect that this is the deposition of Mitchell Johnson, and may the record further reflect that it's the same cause of action previously referred to in the deposition of Andrew Golden, the same record relative to objections and stipulations to be carried forward to this deposition, so we don't have to repeat them. Is that agreeable?
I agree.
Agreed.
Will the court reporter please swear the witness?
Mr. Johnson, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Mitchell Scott Johnson, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit because I have trouble hearing. How old are you?
I am 15 years of age, sir.
And I'm going to ask you several questions in this deposition. I want to make sure you understand my questions and you respond to them. If you don't understand the question, you let me know and I'll rephrase it. Is that agreeable?
Yes, sir.
You were present during the deposition of Andrew Golden?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you a few questions about what you know and understand about today. Do you know who you are?
Yes, sir.
What is your full name?
Mitchell Scott Johnson, sir.
What is your date of birth?
8/11/84, sir.
How old are you?
15 years of age.
And who are your parents?
Scott Johnson and Miss Gretchen Wood.
And did you have a stepfather back in March of 1998?
Yes, sir, I did.
What was his name?
Terry Woodard, sir.
Is Terry Woodard and your mom still married?
Yes, sir.
Has your father remarried? Certainly.
Fixing to be, sir.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, sir.
Who are your brothers and sisters?
I have Jessie Woodard. She's my sister. Monty Johnson, my brother, and Angie Bremen, my sister.
How old are each of them? Tell me their names and how old are they?
Jessie is 4, fixing to be 5. Monty is 13, and Angie just turned 24.
Where does Angie live?
In Bono.
What is her address? Do you know?
No, sir, I don't.
And is she married?
She's engaged.
And her last name is what?
Vreeman, sir.
Spell that.
Vreeman.
Does she work?
Yes, sir.
Where does she work?
St. Bernard's Regional Hospital, I do believe, sir.
In March of 1998, you were involved in a shooting incident on the Westside school grounds. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you entered a plea of guilty to your participation in that shooting incident. Did you?
Object to the form of the question vague. Are you referring to the federal or state?
I'll rephrase it. Did you enter a guilty plea to the juvenile court proceedings in Craighead County relating to the shooting incidents at Westside School?
Yes, sir.
And at the time you entered that plea of guilty, did you know and understand what you were doing?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you plead guilty because in truth and in fact you were guilty of being involved in that shooting incident?
Yes, sir.
In that shooting incident, there were 5 people killed, is that correct?
Correct.
4 students and 1 teacher?
My knowledge, yes, sir.
And you knew all 4 of the students?
Object to the form of the question. Your questions are public record, Mr. McDaniel, so therefore they're repetitive.
Well, I'm entitled to inquire as to his knowledge, public record or not. You knew the names of the 4 people who were killed, did you not?
Do I continue? Yes, sir, I did. I do now.
Okay. Do you know the names of some of the people who were shot but not killed?
Very few.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, did Andrew Golden participate with you in that shooting incident?
Yes, sir.
Did both you and Andrew Golden shoot rifles at individuals who were later obviously killed or wounded?
Yes, sir.
And did you intentionally kill or injure some of the individuals who were shot?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer.
Okay. At the time that you were shooting the rifles, you knew that the rifles were loaded with live rounds of ammunition?
Yes, sir.
And you knew that if a person was shot with a rifle, that it could cause injury or death?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer, based on the Fifth Amendment.
Mr. Johnson, when the shooting incident took place, did you force Andrew Johnson to participate in the shooting incident?
Objection, I think you've misstated.
Well, I'll rephrase.
I don't mean to be
I'm sorry.
picky, but I think you've misstated the name.
I think you're correct. Mr. Johnson, at the time of the shooting incident on March 24 of 1998, did you force Andrew Golden to participate in that shooting event with you?
No, sir, I did not.
Was the shooting incident an agreement between yourself and Andrew Golden?
Yes, sir.
Whose idea was it, yours or Andrew's, to pull the fire alarm?
Objection, object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
When the shooting took place on the grounds of Westside School, who fired rifles, you or Andrew Golden or both?
Both, sir.
Who fired rifles at the students and teacher, you or Andrew Golden or both?
Both.
Which rifle did you use in the shooting incident?
Just a moment, Mr. McDaniel, I'm not sure.
A 30-06, sir.
The 30-06, the Remington 30-06?
Yes, sir.
I want to caution counsel that I do not want to have an improper communication, but that he is still wired with a microphone, and even though I might not hear the tape, and I'm going to,
I pulled the mic down.
with court's and everyone's permission, may I ask that the videographer edit that private communication out of the tape?
I just asked it.
Is that agreeable?
Yes, I asked the witness whether he knew what the rifle was. You cited a 30-06. I didn't know if he knew it.
Okay, that's fine.
But we will take his microphone off in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor, I can shut it off, and I can't hear, nor can anyone
Okay.
else.
I'll take his microphone off in the future.
Okay. Now, Mr. Johnson, why did you shoot some of the people at the Westside School?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Mr. Johnson, did you know who you were shooting at?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
A question that I've been asked to present to you is from Zane Wright, Shannon Wright's little boy, who wants to know why you shot his mom. Will you answer this?
Just a moment, please.
Sir, could you repeat the question for me?
Yes. Zane Wright, the minor child of Mitchell Wright and Shannon Wright, wanted us to ask you, why did you shoot and kill his mommy?
Sir, it was not intentional. It was not for me to kill anybody. That was not my plan, sir. And, sir, I did not pick her out or anybody else that was killed that day.
Were the shootings of the individuals just at random, shooting one, then another, without specifically targeting one person?
Please repeat the question.
Yes, sir. When you were firing that rifle, were you specifically targeting one individual?
Now, Mr. McDaniel, I don't mean to quibble, but that's two different questions, sir.
I'll rephrase it. Did you have a telescopic sight on the 30-06 rifle?
Yes, sir, I did.
When you looked through the telescopic sight, did it have crosshairs to assist you in aiming?
Yes, sir.
And when you placed the crosshairs on a target, did you know who you were placing the crosshairs on?
Mr. McDaniel, again, are you asking, did he know the identity
Yes,
of the person by
Yes.
name, or
Yes.
could he visualize a person through the
yes, I was
scope?
going to do it both
I
ways.
apologize.
Do you know the name of the, when you look through your telescopic sight and you could see them through the scope and the crosshairs was on an individual, did you know who you were looking at through the scope?
Honestly, sir, I don't remember me shooting, period.
Sir?
Honestly, I don't remember me shooting, period.
Was this, how long did this shooting incident take place? Over how much time?
I'm not aware, sir.
Okay. You knew Miss Wright by sight, did you not?
If I just saw her out of a crowd,
Yes.
yes, sir, I did.
And you knew Natalie Brooks by sight, did you not?
Yes, sir, I did.
You knew Paige Herring by sight, did you not?
I didn't know her that well, sir.
But you could recognize her in a group of 3 or 4 kids, couldn't you?
Mr. McDaniel, by know by sight, do you mean to imply he knew their name?
Recognize them by name and identity.
But not simply by face?
If you saw the face of Paige Herring, did you know her name when you looked at her?
Not really, no, sir, I didn't.
Okay. Did you know Stephanie Dawn Johnson by face when you saw her?
Yes, sir.
And did you know Brittany Ryan Varner by face when you saw her?
No, sir, I'm not sure.
When you were looking through your telescopic sight and shooting the .30-06 rifle, were some of the people facing you and some have their backs to you?
I'm not aware, sir.
Don't remember?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. How many times did you shoot the .30-06 rifle?
5 times, sir.
5 times?
I'm aware of that because that's all I held, and my gun was empty.
Okay. When you emptied that gun, did you...
Mr. McDaniel.
Sir?
Just a moment, please.
Certainly.
Councilman, when y'all are finished, could you hold it down toward the middle of his chest? As he breathes, I'm getting...
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead with what you were saying, sir.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. I think you indicated that you had shot your .30-06 rifle 5 times, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you stopped shooting it because you ran out of ammunition for that gun. Is that
I don't
right?
believe that's what the witness said, Mr. McDaniel. I'm not
Let me
trying to-
rephrase it. Why did you stop shooting that .30-06 rifle?
I'm not sure, sir, why I stopped.
Okay. Did you have another weapon besides the .30-06 rifle that you shot that day?
Right. Yes, sir.
What other weapon did you use that day?
I used a .38 pistol, sir.
Okay. Did Andrew Golden fire either rifles or pistols or both that day?
Yes, sir, I did.
What weapons did Andrew Golden fire?
I'm not for sure.
Okay. Where did you get the weapons that were used in the shooting incident?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer under the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know what a trigger lock is?
Yes, sir.
Before March 24 of 1998, had you ever seen a trigger lock before?
Yes, sir.
Where would you have seen a trigger lock?
Probably in a magazine.
Had you ever physically touched or handled a trigger lock before March 24 of 1998?
Yes, sir.
And where would you have physically touched or handled a trigger lock before March 24 of 1998?
At my cousin's house in Minnesota.
And who is that?
I don't know his last name, but I know his first name is Jeff, sir.
And who was with you when you were there?
My father and my little brother.
And Was the trigger lock in place on a gun?
Yes, sir.
And was it locked in place?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a key? Was it one you used a key to?
Yes, sir. It was a key.
Did you have the key to it?
No, sir, I did not.
Since you did not have the key to it, would you have known how to gotten into that trigger lock without the key?
No, sir.
When you looked at the gun with the trigger lock on it, were any adults around or near you?
Yes, sir, my father.
What were you told about a trigger lock at that time?
He didn't explain it to me.
Did you ask, what is this on this gun?
No, sir.
You just knew what it was from seeing magazines?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand that a trigger lock was to keep someone from using a gun that wasn't supposed to?
Yes, sir.
And if a trigger lock was on that gun and you didn't have the key, you couldn't have used that gun, could you?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever seen a trigger lock on a gun that's set by a combination lock like a briefcase?
One time I do believe, sir.
Sir?
Yes, sir, once.
And
What did the witness say?
he said, one time I believe, sir.
One
Is his
time I
microphone
do-
okay? Is the witness's microphone okay?
Yeah,
Mr. McDaniel, I think he said, "One time I do believe."
Okay.
Hold it up just right.
Okay.
So then, you recall that you think you have seen one gun that had a combination lock on it, like a briefcase lock. Is that correct?
I haven't seen it on a gun, sir. I've seen it in a magazine.
You saw one in a magazine.
Yes, sir.
And did you understand that if such a trigger lock was on a gun, if you did not know the combination, you couldn't use the gun?
Objection leading.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had any training as a gunsmith or someone who repairs guns?
No, sir.
Do you know how to take a gun apart and put it back together so it will function properly?
No, sir.
Just a moment, Mr. McDaniel.
Do you know what a padlock is?
Yes, sir.
What is a padlock?
A padlock is a device that you can stick on a locker to make sure no one can get in your locker without
And
authority.
if the padlock is properly placed on something to keep someone out and you don't have the key around, they can't get in, correct?
Objection speculative.
Go ahead and answer.
Mine? Answer. Would you please repeat the question?
The padlock is placed on something to keep someone out if they don't have the key, correct?
Correct.
Okay. At the home of Douglas Golden on March 24 of 1998, were the guns on the wall secured in any fashion by means of a lock or a cable in any way?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
In reference to the shooting incident, had you told anyone before the incident took place that you were going to do that?
Not specifically, no.
Had you talked about it in general with someone else?
Not mentioning details, no.
Had you talked about it in general, non-specific form to someone else?
Twice.
To whom?
One to a friend. I asked him not to come to school because I thought something bad might happen. And then the second time, it was the Monday before the incident, sir.
All right, the first one, when did that take place? When you told him not to come to school, something bad might happen. When was that? Was that the same day of the shooting?
No, sir.
That was another time?
Yes, sir.
Who was that person?
I'm not going to name names.
Let me consult my client, please. Let's talk to the judge.
Do we need to go off of the
We
record
need to go off the record, let's talk to the judge.
outside
Yes.
presence?
We're going to adjourn the deposition at this time. The time is 1:39 p.m.
Judge, you want to do it in here, or you want to step
I
out?
just thought you and I could jump on this because I just learned about it a moment ago.
I guess it could go to a conspiracy if the other person was involved in some way, but
Are we back on the record?
Yes.
Back on the record? Mr. Johnson, upon instruction from your counsel, I'm going to ask you about those two conversations, and I'm not going to ask you the names of who you were talking to. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
The first incident, when and where did that take place?
It took place on spring break, the Friday of spring break. I went to a friend's house, and I spent the night with him. And we had brought up the subject of school and how things were going. And I told him that I wanted to come to school. You know, I didn't give him a date because I wasn't for sure. But I told him, go ahead.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I told him that I felt that some negative could happen. You know, and I didn't want him getting hurt.
And that was on the Friday before spring break?
The Friday, spring break Friday, sir.
Okay. The shooting incident took place on what day of the week?
Tuesday.
And was spring break over on the Monday preceding the shooting?
I think so, sir.
Okay. The second incident in which you spoke with someone, when and where was that?
That was at school Monday.
The day before the shooting?
Yes, sir.
And again, I understand you don't want to disclose right now who you spoke to, but
Correct.
tell me what was said in that conversation.
I had,
Just a moment.
Go ahead.
could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What was said in that second conversation, which occurred on Monday before the shooting on Tuesday?
I had told a friend that I did not want her coming to school in case something bad could happen.
Did she ask any details about what are you talking about?
Objective to form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Was there anything else said between you and the girl that day?
Could you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. What else was said between you and this girl on Monday before the shooting on Tuesday?
Nothing. Nothing concerning that.
Well, that's not... Answer Mr. McDaniel's question. I've allowed you to answer the question, so answer his question.
Go ahead.
It was nothing after that, sir.
That was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know Amber Vanover?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. Did you tell Amber Vanover's brother about this shooting incident? Does that name ring a bell?
No, sir, it does not.
Okay. Did you and Andrew Golden discuss the shooting incident the morning before it occurred?
Mike?
Just a moment. Mr. McDaniel, there was some confusion on a prior question. I think it was 2 or 3 questions ago involving a young woman that you were asking about. He now understands the question and would like to further answer it.
Thank you very much, and that we'll hold that agreement, so if at any time during the deposition you realize you need to go back and clarify something or change something, you let me know and I'll let you, okay? And thank you for doing that. Now tell me what you need to tell me to set the record straight.
To set the record straight, I had told her not to come to school because I thought something bad might happen. And then after that, I had told her that I loved her, that I'd see her. That was all that was said.
You said you loved her and what?
I had loved her and that I'd see her sometime.
Okay. Now, to the question that I was asking, did you discuss the shooting incident on the morning before the shooting with Andrew Golden?
I don't remember, sir.
When and where did you and Andrew Golden get together on the morning before the shooting when this criminal escapade started?
Mr. McDaniel, I'm not sure I understand that. I don't mean to be...
Okay, I'll
Thank you.
rephrase it. Did you spend the night at your own home the night before the shooting?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did Andrew Golden spend the night with you?
No, sir, I did not.
When is the first time you saw Andrew Golden the next morning, that is the morning of the shooting?
I'm not for sure of the time, sir.
Where and how did you and Andrew get together on the morning of the shooting the first time? How'd that come about?
Where did he meet Andrew?
Yes,
On Tuesday, sir?
yes.
I met him at his house.
Did you call him on the phone, or did he call you, or did he know that you were coming? Had you discussed it?
Before, yes, sir.
And how long before? When before?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
So at some time prior to the morning of the shooting, you and Andrew had a discussion that you were going to get together that morning for this shooting incident, correct?
Just a moment. I think that's been asked and answered, Mr. McDaniel, but just in case, object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you call Andrew Golden on the telephone on the morning of March 24, 1998, before you physically observed or saw him?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
You saw Andrew Golden at his house that morning of the shooting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how did you get to his house?
By my mother's van, sir.
And what type van was that? Do you know what kind it was?
It was a Dodge, sir.
Had you ever driven that van before?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever driven it alone before?
Not very far. Not out my yard, sir.
But you had driven it before.
Yes, sir.
And had your mother allowed you to drive it, to teach you how to drive?
Yes, sir.
And had your mother ever ridden with you in the vehicle when you drove it before?
I do believe so, yes.
And how long had you been driving an automobile either with your mom or with another adult prior to March 24 of 1998?
Just a moment, please.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. How long had you been driving an automobile in the presence of adults before March 24, 1998?
Quite a while, sir.
A couple of years, a year?
Couple years.
Then your mother knew and approved of you driving an automobile, correct?
Somewhat, yes, sir.
All right. Did you know where your mother kept the keys to the van?
Yes, sir, I did.
On the night before the shooting, were you up and about around your house around midnight or in the early morning hours?
No, sir.
Did you have any property in the van, like camping gear, things like that in the van that morning?
Yes, sir.
What all was in the van by way of camping gear or survival gear, as it may be called?
I just had my clothes and some shoes. It was
Mr.
in.
McDaniel, we would not agree that camping gear equates with survival gear, sir.
Okay, all right. Was there, at the time of the shooting, some camping gear or camping equipment in the back of the van? Or in the van?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that camping gear?
It was not mine.
Well, how did it get into the van?
Repeat the question, sir.
Yes. How did the camping gear get into the van?
It was placed in the van, sir.
By whom?
Andrew.
And do you know where Andrew got it?
I do believe that was his, sir.
I'm sorry?
That was his, sir. I do believe.
When was it loaded into the van? The morning of the shooting or at some other time?
The morning.
Where was it loaded onto the van? At his house or some other place?
At his house.
Was anyone home at his house when when the camping gear was loaded into the van?
No, sir.
Were any guns obtained from Andrew Golden's house?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you and Andrew Golden have anyone else in the van with you from the time you picked him up until the time you were apprehended by the police on the morning of March 24, 1998?
No, sir.
When you picked Andrew Golden up in the van that morning, had you and he agreed that you were going to have this shooting incident at the school?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
When you and Andrew were together in the van before you went to the school area, did you discuss what you were going to do that day?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Okay. Did Andrew object to riding with you in the van from his house to the area of Westside School?
No, sir.
Did you go anywhere other than directly from his house to Westside School that morning?
Yes, sir.
Did you go to Doug Golden's house?
Not with the van, no.
All right. How did you get to Doug Golden's house?
Walk, sir.
From where?
From the location I parked the van.
And where did you park the van to get to Doug Golden's house?
I don't know the street name, sir.
Okay. How far did you walk from where you parked the van to Doug Golden's house?
I could honestly answer that. I don't know.
A block, a football field?
More
You
than
don't
a
know?
football field.
Sorry?
More than a football field.
Okay. When you got to Doug Golden's house, did you know why you were going there?
Yes and no.
Well, tell me what the yes part was and tell me what the no part was.
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer further. He can say yes or no whether he knew why he was going there, but he cannot answer further.
Did you, when you went to Doug Golden's house, intend to obtain firearms from the house?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Had you and Andrew discussed getting firearms from Douglas Golden's home?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you and Andrew enter Douglas Golden's home that morning?
Mr. McDaniel, how do you mean enter?
Enter by being from outside the home to getting inside the home by any means?
By any means?
Yes.
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Okay. Were you ever inside the home of Douglas Golden on the morning of March 24, 1998?
Yes, sir.
And while inside the home of Douglas Golden on March 24 of 1998, did you see firearms in that home?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever been in that home before?
No, sir.
Had you had that home described to you by Andrew before as to the guns contained in it?
No, sir.
Had Andrew told you that there were guns in the home?
Yes, sir.
Did he tell you how many?
Objection, hearsay. Go ahead, Nancy.
No, sir.
Did Andrew tell you he knew how to get the guns, or he could get them?
He told me he could get them.
Okay. And when you got to the home and you saw the guns, were the guns locked in any fashion?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know what a cable locking system with a padlock is?
Mr. Mosley.
Could you repeat, please, sir?
Yes. I may not repeat it exactly, bear with me. Did you see in the area of the guns a cable locking system with a padlock?
Yes, sir.
Was the lock closed or locked when you got there that morning?
Yes, sir.
Did Andrew get the key to unlock the lock?
I'm not for sure.
Did you get the key to
Object
unlock
to
the
the form of
lock?
the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Was the key used, regardless of who did it, to
Objection.
unlock the padlock?
I'm sorry. Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know if the lock was actually locked or not on the cable locking system holding the
Objection
guns?
asked and answered, he said that it was.
Yes, sir, it was locked.
Okay. Did you obtain guns from that gun rack that morning?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did Andrew Golden obtain any guns from that gun rack that morning?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
The .30-06 that you told us already that you used in the shooting incident, did it come from the home of Andrew Golden?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you, when you were inside the home of Douglas Golden, did you have any tools with you?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
You know what tools are.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
on his body or access available in the home, Mr. McDaniel?
Did you have any tools in your hands when you were in the home of Douglas Golden?
No, sir.
Did Andrew Golden have any tools in his hands while you were inside the home of Douglas Golden?
No, sir.
Was anyone else other than you and Andrew in the home when you were there on the morning of March 24, 1998?
No, sir.
Did you see Andrew Golden use any tools of any kind to gain access to the rifles?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
You and Andrew, and I'm not asking whether someone else was or was not involved, but when you and Andrew left the home of Douglas Golden, you left there to go to Westside School. Is that correct?
Object to the form of the question. If you rephrase it, he could answer it.
All right, I'll try. After you left the home of Douglas Golden, where did you go?
To Westside, sir.
And when you went to Westside School, were you going there for the purpose of shooting guns?
Object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
When you went to the Westside School area after leaving the home of Douglas Golden, did you stop anywhere in between the home and when you finally got out of the van at the Westside School area?
Mr. Northwood.
Could you please repeat?
Did you stop anywhere from the time you left the home of Douglas Golden until the time you got to the location where you parked the van near the Westside School?
No, sir.
When you went to the Westside School area, did you take any guns with you from where you parked the van up to the where
Objection to the form of the
got
question.
into the
I'm sorry.
area?
My apologies.
Let me
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
You told us earlier about shooting the .30-06 in the vicinity of the teacher and the students at Westside School, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you did.
Where did you get the gun that was used in the .30-06 that was used in that shooting?
The witness believes he has to refuse to answer that, Mr. McDaniel.
All right,
I've got to respect that belief.
I understand. When you and Andrew Golden were in the vicinity where the shooting took place, did you have any discussion about what was about to occur before the first shot was fired?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you overhear Andrew Golden make any statements when you were in the vicinity where the shooting took place before the first shot was fired?
Objection, hearsay.
Go ahead and answer.
No, sir.
Okay. Did you observe Andrew Golden go into the school for the purpose of pulling a fire alarm?
Objection. Assumes knowledge, not on the record. Mr. McDaniel, this is another situation where I have to respect my client's opinion. I am not able to persuade him otherwise.
All right, let me ask it another way or two. If you need to object, I certainly understand. Did Andrew Golden leave the area where the shooting took place to go inside the school before the first shot was fired?
I don't want to answer that question, sir.
I'm going to defer to his judgment on that.
On the morning of March 24 of 1998, had you used or consumed any alcoholic beverages within 24 hours prior to the shooting?
No, sir.
On the morning of March 24, 1998, or within 24 hours, had you used or consumed any marijuana or any other illegal drug?
No, sir. I have not obtained any marijuana in the past 24 hours before the shooting.
Did you have any other illegal substance?
No, sir.
And Mr. McDaniel, you mean, did he acquire and consume?
Acquire or consume any controlled substance, any drug, illegal drug or controlled substance on the morning of or within 24 hours of the shooting incident?
Excuse me, that's two questions now, slightly different than the prior.
I'll rephrase it.
Would you break it down into two?
Yes. On the morning of March 24, 1998, did you have any marijuana or illegal drug in your possession?
No, sir.
Had you had in your possession within 24 hours before the shooting any marijuana or illegal drug of any kind?
No, sir.
I'm going to ask you again, and I know you've invoked the Fifth Amendment, but I'm going to ask the court to rule on this. Did you observe Andrew Golden go into the school shortly before the firing of the guns took place?
That's slight, I don't mean to be picking at you, but I think that's a slightly different question if we took time to read it back.
That's fine, if he'll answer that, then certainly fine.
See if this response,
Okay, go ahead and answer, sir.
Sir, he had left my whereabouts.
Okay, where was Andrew Golden before he left your whereabouts, and how long was he gone before he came back to your whereabouts?
that's compound, can we break them?
Where was Andrew Golden when he left your whereabouts when you stopped the van at the Westside School area?
I don't understand the question, sir.
You said Andrew Golden left your whereabouts.
Yes, sir.
Where were you last with him before he left your whereabouts?
Let me try to explain that to you, Matt. I think he understands the question.
Okay.
I was on the school grounds, sir.
Sir,
I was on the school grounds.
where on the school grounds were you?
Mike, I was,
Counselor, we're having trouble with that microphone. I need to swap it out.
And all right, we need to change it. And Mike, I think we can probably do better if he'll attach that because he's rolling it
I've
around.
been putting it in my hand.
Yeah, but if he'll attach it, when you need a conference, he can turn off the mic or it won't pick up. You don't trust him to do that?
No, it's not mistrust. I don't believe in technology. I'm a Luddite. The Luddites were the people that refused to use telephones or electricity and things like that.
We're going to pause the deposition. Time is 2:10 p.m.
We might as well take a 5-minute restroom break while we're on.
Mr. Gurletta,
Yes.
I can close this up like this.
It's marginal at best. Mike?
Yeah, that's one way to conclude it. It's not just about
I would still be driving a horse and buggy.
Is the judge coming back in? Somebody?
They'll never believe this when they go back to the election. Go back to the firm and try and explain to them, they never believed that they had.
You see that?
I don't see David Paxton in the record.
No, it's just.
Judge, we're missing David Hodges.
Well, he was right outside. I thought he came back. He might have been piled.
Yeah, you see if you can find David Hodges.
The news media asked me out there, any of y'all get a comment on what was taking place here, and I told them no, you couldn't, but in my opinion, it wasn't anything newsworthy.
Well, it may be something to be stated in the record without David Hodges being here. Let me know when you're back.
We are back on the record. The time is 2:19 p.m.
Your Honor, before we commence back with the deposition, counsel advised me they need to make a statement for the record and to Your Honor.
This is Randall Miller. I represent Gretchen Woodard. Gretchen is the mother of Mitchell Johnson. I've had a discussion with Brent Davis, who is the elected prosecutor for this judicial district. This is not a firm commitment on Brent's part, but I discussed this all with him, and he stated in no uncertain terms that at this time he has no interest in pursuing any additional charges against Mitchell Johnson. He realizes under the law, that even if he filed additional charges, he couldn't give him any more time than he has already received. So the filing of any additional charges would have no purpose or no effect, and that Brett hasn't even had any inkling that there were additional charges that he intended to file against this defendant. And I think Judge Burnett was present also when those statements were made. Again, I'm not coming in here saying that I'm authorized by Brent Davis to state that, but Brent's word has always been good, and he says he has no interest in pursuing any charges against this defendant.
With that statement for the record, Mr. Roberts, are there some expansions that you would allow your witness to make of prior answers given?
I couldn't be happier than to hear that, and I will withdraw my objections based on the Fifth Amendment and let you proceed a reasonable pace,
Okay.
to re-ask these questions.
Great.
I did not interpose those to make your life difficult. This is the first moment I've heard about it, and I am delighted.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, we're going to go back.
I think the record should reflect, because I heard the conversation that Mr. Davis, while he indicated that would be his inclination, that he doesn't know enough about the facts or circumstances, the question was sprung on him too early, and that he didn't want to give any official commitment to that, and did not. But his statement was generally, as Mr. Miller indicated, that he wasn't making any firm official comment on it. It shouldn't be indicated that was his official.
I think that's what Mr. Miller indicated.
Okay.
Well, then out of an abundance of caution,
We're back to square one?
we're back to square one, I think, until we
Thank you,
can...
Judge.
Well, I mean, he certainly said that he didn't know of any reason why he would bring or didn't have any information that would justify bringing additional charges.
Well, let me ask a couple of questions, and if you need to interpose, well, you can. On the morning that you entered the home of Douglas Golden, did you see rifles on the wall that were eventually taken and used in the shooting incident at Westside School?
Mr. McDaniel, I was very hopeful that we did have something definitive, but now I've got to say that I can not object to the first part of that question, but object to the second. It's a compound question.
At the time you went into the home of Douglas Golden, did you see rifles on the wall?
Yes, sir.
Were those rifles secured with a cable and padlock that was locked, or do you know one way or the other if the lock was there?
Asked and answered. Twice.
Go ahead and answer.
It was locked, yes, sir.
All right. Did either you or Andrew Golden secure a key to unlock the padlock?
Object to the form of the question. Regrettably object to the form of the question. Instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Were weapons taken from the gun rack area near the eating area in the Douglas Golden home by you and or Andrew Golden on the morning of March 24, 1998?
I think I'm going to have to interpose the same objection based on what the...
Well, we're back to square one. Those have been asked and answered. Now, what we can... Okay.
I will put this on the record that Mr. Johnson, in another court, has made statements which are presently subject to seal that would answer a number of your questions.
Well, since I don't have access to sealed documents,
And at the end of the proceeding, those statements may well be available, and I anticipate that proceeding to end before the trial of this case.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, did you shoot Stephanie Johnson?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Did Andrew Golden shoot Stephanie?
I do not know, sir.
Do you know who you shot of the groups of people that were shot? Do you know specifically which individual you shot?
Sir, I have been told that I have shot Miss Shannon Ray.
Okay. Do you know who shot whom? Do you know which bullets that you fired struck who, and you know which bullets Andrew shot struck whom?
Of his own personal knowledge
Yes.
or based on what he
Yes.
has been told?
On your own knowledge.
No, sir.
When you were firing your rifle, did you see one or more individuals fall after you shot?
No, sir.
After Andrew Golden fired his rifle, did you see individuals fall?
No, sir.
When people were shot, they fell down out there, did they not?
I'm sure. I don't know.
Okay. Did anybody besides you and Andrew Golden fire any shots at the teacher and students at the Westside School on the morning of March 24, 1998?
To his knowledge?
Yes.
To my knowledge, no, sir.
Was anyone else within your immediate physical presence besides Andrew Golden on the morning of March 24, 1998 when you were firing your rifle?
You understand?
Actually, no, I don't. I'm sorry. No, I don't understand the question.
All right. Was anybody real close to you when you were firing the .30-06 rifle? Was anybody besides Andrew Golden very close to you that you could see them or touch them?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you see anyone else besides you and Andrew Golden with a gun that day before the shooting stopped?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay. Do you know an individual by the name of Jonathan Woodard?
Yes, sir.
Did you discuss the shooting incident at Westside School prior to the shooting with Jonathan Woodard?
No, sir.
Did Andrew Golden tell you that he had discussed the shooting incident with Jonathan Woodard?
Objection, hearsay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you discuss the shooting incident with anyone other than the two people that you've mentioned to me before it occurred?
I'm not going to answer that question. I discussed it with Andrew, but nobody else.
I'm sorry?
I discussed it with Andrew Golden, but nobody else.
When
No,
did
no,
you
wait,
first
you just-
discuss it with Andrew Golden?
Just a moment, I don't want him to misstate himself. You discussed it with Andrew Golden, and you mentioned to two other young people not coming to school.
Correct, correct,
But you didn't discuss the shooting with them. You
Right.
just told them not to come to school.
correct. I'm sorry.
You discussed the shooting with Andrew Golden.
Yes, sir.
When did you discuss it with Andrew Golden?
Well, I believe he's answered that, Mr. McMahon.
If he did, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes?
I discussed it many times, really.
Was this something that you and Andrew Golden planned over a period of time?
Objection to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Is the shooting incident an event that you and Andrew had discussed several times before it actually took place?
Objection to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
Did you ever tell Andrew Golden that you had used some of your father's marijuana?
Yes, sir, I have.
How many times did you tell Andrew you'd used some of your father's marijuana?
Excuse me, how many times he used the marijuana, or how many times he
How
told?
many times did he tell Andrew
Andrew.
that he had used his father's marijuana?
Once,
How many times had you used your father's marijuana?
3 times.
Did you use your father's marijuana in his presence?
Object to the form of the question, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment.
To your knowledge, did your father know that you had used his marijuana?
Objection.
Continue.
Let me rephrase the question, see if that'll help. Did your father ever tell you that he knew that you had gotten into or used his marijuana?
Objection, hearsay.
Go ahead and answer.
Let me,
Sir,
would you ask the question again?
Yes. Did your father ever tell you that he knew you had used or been into his marijuana?
Yes, sir.
When and where did that take place?
In his home.
When?
And on Christmas, around Christmas of '97, sir.
Christmas of '97, the Christmas before the shooting took place.
Yes, sir.
And where was your father's home at that time?
In Grand Meadow, Minnesota.
Did your father also possess firearms at his home?
No, sir.
Did the police ever come to your father's home when you were there
Objection,
in Minnesota?
Objection, foundation.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. When you were at your father's home in Minnesota, did the police ever come to that home?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Did you ever use any marijuana or drugs that would have belonged to your stepfather?
Objection. Excuse me. Mr. McDaniel, would you ask that again, please?
Yes. Did you ever use any marijuana or other drug that belonged to or was in the possession of your stepfather?
Objection, assumes possession of an illegal drug by a former convicted federal felon.
Can you answer the question?
Sir, when I was around, when my stepfather was around me, he didn't have any drugs, sir.
What was your stepfather's name?
Terry
And what's his last name?
Woodard, sir.
And did you know Terry Woodard had been convicted of federal criminal drug violations?
I knew he had been convicted. I didn't know what for, sir.
Okay. Did you ever see him have in his possession any marijuana or any drug, illegal drug?
Never, sir.
Did you use alcohol prior to March 24, 1998 at any time?
Temporal, at any time in
At
his
any
life?
time before in his life prior to March 24, 1998?
Go ahead and answer.
Once, sir, yes.
And where did you get the alcoholic beverage you consumed?
A friend.
And when was that?
In the summer of '97.
Okay. Do you know what a hangover is?
Yes, sir.
What is a hangover?
It is after effect of drinking too much, sir.
Did you have a hangover in January of 1997 from
No, sir.
drinking too much?
No, sir.
I'm going to show you a document, and I'm going to mark it as Exhibit 1 to this deposition. And I'm going to ask you if it's your signature in the upper right-hand corner of this document. Exhibit 1, is that your signature?
Just a minute.
Tell me.
Is that your signature?
Yes, sir. That's my signature.
And is the document in your handwriting?
Yes, sir. I do believe so.
All right, would you read that document, Exhibit 1, into the record, please?
Mr. McDaniel, let me read it first, would you please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
It might be faster, Mike, if you had him read it too. It's kind of hard to read.
I hate to take a lot of time here.
I'll
Is
give
there a
you-
better copy, do you think?
That's the best copy I have. Off the record for a moment.
We're adjourning deposition. The time is 2:34 p.m.
document, but I'm assuming however Mr. McDaniel came back, if he's acknowledged it is his for the purposes of the deposition, it's certainly fair game.
To this point, I'll limit my objection to the document itself,
That's right.
the admissibility or use of the document.
Now, back on the video
See if
record.
you can read this.
We are back on the record. The time is 2:44 p.m.
Mr. Johnson, I've handed you a photocopy of a document dated January 31, 1997, in the upper right-hand corner bearing your signature and which you've acknowledged is in your handwriting. Would you read that document or the parts of it that you can for us, please?
May I speak to my attorney for 1 second?
Sure. Just pick it up and start reading if you would, please.
John, I am in ISS because this morning I walked in with my hat on and I can't read that, sir.
Let's set forth what ISS is.
In-school suspension, sir.
Okay. Walked in with my hat on and
I can't read that, sir.
read what you can.
I was some. Oh, okay. I was to take it off, and the teacher tried to take my $35 hat, and I said no and tucked it under my arm, and it took 2 teachers to take it away from me. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I could have just given up my hat and was right and went right along with the day. I got mad and lost my temper, and I just ruined a good Friday. I woke up with a bad hangover this morning. That is my problem. The hangover is from too much pop, and I put in parentheses soda, last night. I had a bad morning this morning, so I came to school with an attitude.
I hate 2 teachers in this school.
Okay.
Is that right?
I do believe that's what it says. I hate 2 teachers in the school. I cannot read
I
that.
would blank them, but one other teacher will read about it and tell them. Is that right?
I couldn't honestly
Okay,
say.
well, read what you can. You go ahead and read what you can.
Then
Then I would get in trouble.
and I would get into trouble. If they put my that's all I can read on that sentence. The 2 people I hate are Miss somebody and Miss, I can't read the other name also.
Let's correct the record. I think it's Mrs. somebody and
Mi-
Mrs. somebody.
Excuse me.
Mrs. Blank and Mrs. Blank and then fooled
Right.
you.
I don't know if that says fooled you or not. I think that's what it said. That's what it says, fooled you. I hate in-school suspension. I have only one Nike hat left.
One Nike hat left.
Right, one Nike hat left. Come on, bell, ring. Please, I think. Yeah, please, bell, ring. Have I told you that I hate ISS? Question mark. That I would have had, that I would, some.
Does it say, I hate that I have had ISS,
Okay, yes, sir.
one full day and one half day?
1/2 a day. Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
After this, could you help me with that, sir? I don't know what that said.
After this, I can't read it. Sucky day, it looks like to me. After this sucky day,
Okay, is over. I can't read that. I think it says something.
and then it says, and killing squad,
Killing squirrels.
killing squirrels. Okay.
Something. Pretending something. I don't know what that says.
Something ISS.
Something ISS. I think it's supposed to say pretending I am out of ISS. That was
Funny?
fun, I guess. I wish that I can't read that. Okay. I wish that would be the end of ISS. So I think everyone something
Does?
I think everyone does. If I do not, sir, can you help me?
Tell my parents I will be grounded.
Grounded for life. I don't know.
A pellet gun.
Okay.
Is that right?
I'm sure that's what I said.
And I'm not afraid to use it.
I couldn't honestly say if that's what I said or not, sir. I cannot read the statement.
See if it says I have a pellet gun and I am not afraid to use it.
I know it said I have a pellet gun. I can read that. I'm not sure what it says after that though, sir.
Did you maintain a journal, Mr. Johnson?
I wrote this note to myself, but no, sir.
Did you keep a diary or a journal?
No, sir, I didn't.
The title of this says journal. Where did you learn what a journal is, or why does that word journal appear up there?
Objection. It's 2 questions. He'll answer those questions, but it was compound.
Why does the word journal appear at the top of the page?
Because I wrote it to myself.
Do you know what a journal is?
It's a letter or a statement you write to yourself.
Did you maintain a regular book or diary or folder of journal entries?
No, sir.
Who were the 2 teachers you were making reference to that you hated?
I'm not for sure.
Was Mrs. Wright one of them?
No, sir, it was not.
Do you have any idea who they were?
I'm sure Miss Fuller was one of them.
Miss Fuller?
Yes, sir.
What did she teach?
ISS.
Okay, who would the other would have been if you know?
Sir, I couldn't honestly say.
All right. You see there where it says you had a bad hangover?
Yes, sir.
You were telling yourself the truth, weren't you?
I don't know.
Objection, Mr. McDaniel. What did you
I'll rephrase it.
think about that?
When you wrote in there that you had a hangover, were you writing something that wasn't true?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. So then, is it correct that you will say something that is not true if it will benefit you at the time?
No, sir.
You had other in-school suspensions, had you not?
One before that, I do believe.
When was your other in-school suspension?
After this incident.
After this incident?
After this journal was written in.
Okay. And what was that about?
I had cussed a teacher out.
Who was the teacher you cussed out?
Miss Northern.
Who?
Miss Northern, sir.
Why did you cuss her out?
I had got upset because she had told me to come back in her classroom. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I had asked her for permission to go out in the hallway and talk to him, and she didn't listen to me, so I snuck out of her class and started talking to him. when I come back in, she had asked me where I went, and I said, "You didn't listen to me, ma'am." So I went to talk to my friend, and she had told me she had said, "All right," but the reason she had asked me was because a girl had told on me for leaving the classroom. That's why she had asked me where I went.
And you cussed her out?
After I found out who had told on me, yes, sir.
Did you cuss out the student that snitched you off, or the teacher, or both?
Both.
And who was the student that told on you?
I'm not for sure. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Sure?
I'm thinking it was April Stevens, but I could be wrong.
You had been suspended the last day of 5th grade, had you not?
Yes, sir.
What did you get suspended the last day of 5th grade for?
Fighting, sir.
And who were you fighting with?
Matthew Smith, I do believe his name was.
And where did that fight take place?
On the playground.
And were your parents advised of that fight?
Yes, sir.
And you had previously been suspended for fighting with another student, had you not?
No, sir, I had not.
Were you not suspended on March 26, 1997 for fighting with Sean Loken and given a 3-day
Yep.
suspension?
That was in 6th grade, sir. You had referred to it in 5th grade.
Okay, I'm just looking at a date that says March 26, 1997. In March 26, you were in 5th, of 1997, you were in 5th grade, were you not?
No, sir, I was in 6th.
What grade were you in when the Westside shooting incident took place?
7th.
Okay, I stand corrected, I'm sorry. So you were in 6th grade when you got suspended for fighting with Sean Loken,
Are
correct?
you referring to the last day of class?
No, March 26, 1997.
Is this the third incident you're referring to, or a second incident?
Now, let's go back. You got suspended the last day of school of 5th grade, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then you were suspended with the in-school suspension that we read the note about that's dated January 31, 1997, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that time was for wearing the hat to school in violation of rules, correct?
Correct.
Then you were suspended another time after that for cussing out the teacher, correct?
I was sent to ISS, yes, sir.
Okay. And then you were suspended on March 26, 1997 for 2 days for fighting with Sean Loken.
Are you referring to in-school or out-of-school suspensions?
2 days out of school suspension.
May I clear something up, sir?
Yeah.
I was sent to ISS in the 7th grade for cussing the teacher out, not the 6th, sir.
Okay. So the same year of the shooting is when you were sent to the ISS for cussing out the teacher.
Yes, sir.
About when did that occur? Before the shooting? How long before the shooting?
I don't remember, sir, honestly.
Okay. Was it after the hat incident?
Yes, sir, obviously.
Now, when you were suspended on March 26, 1997 for fighting Sean Loken, you were held out of school for 2 days for that, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
And that was something I'm sure your parents were notified of?
Yes, sir.
When what other times were you suspended or given in-school suspension or any in-school discipline?
Temporal,
Including any time?
from
From
K
the-
through,
From kindergarten through
do you recall?
anything? Any other punishments you've received in school? Any paddlings, any suspensions, any disciplines of any kind that you can remember?
I had got a paddling for cussing on the bus.
When was that?
It was in 7th grade. I don't know what time, sir.
Okay. Was it in the fall or the spring or the winter?
I'm not for sure.
Can you tell me how long before the shooting incident? Close in time or a long time away?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Did that school bus cussing incident occur close in time or near when the shooting occurred or a long time before it?
Probably a long time before.
Okay. Any other school discipline incidents?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay. Each time you got school discipline problems, were your parents notified?
Yes, sir.
Did either of your parents ever give you any instructions about safe use of firearms?
By parents, you mean natural father and mother,
Yes,
or
natural
stepfather
parents.
and mother?
Natural parents.
Yes and no.
Did you ever own a firearm, a rifle or a pistol or a shotgun before March 24, 1998?
Object to the form of the question assumes ownership of guns.
No, I asked him, did he ever?
Oh.
As
Did you
in,
ever own a gun of any kind before March 24, 1998?
as in my name, sir?
Yes.
No, sir.
Did you ever have a gun in your possession that family members referred to as your gun or was generally considered as your gun before March 24, 1998?
Yes, sir, I did.
What kind of gun was that?
It was a Mossberg 20 gauge, sir.
A what?
A Mossberg 20 gauge.
And where was that gun kept?
It was kept in a neighbor's home
Where?
down the street, sir, on the same road I lived on.
Did your parents know you had that gun?
Yes, sir.
Why wasn't it kept at your own home?
Because my stepfather's not allowed to be around guns.
Okay. Did Shannon Wright put you in suspension? ISS?
Temporal. I don't mean to be picky.
Anytime?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Okay. Did Shannon Wright make students keep journals?
I do believe so.
Okay, so you did know what a journal was, and it was something that you and other students kept, correct?
Correct.
Did you get in trouble for writing this journal entry that's been marked as Exhibit 1 that you read?
Define trouble, please.
Any kind of trouble, disciplinary consequences at school?
Sir, not that I'm aware of.
Did Ms. Kirtner ask your mother to come to the school because of this journal entry?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did Ms. Kirtner ever ask your mother to come to the school because of some disciplinary problem?
Miss Kirtner had called my mother to come get me when I was suspended, sir.
Okay. May I have 1 second?
Sure.
I don't know.
Did you ever use marijuana other than that which you got from your father?
Object to the form of the question. It's temporal time.
Anytime.
Well, he's testified to prior use of marijuana. This is other alleged uses?
Yes. I want to know the full extent of your marijuana usage before March 24, 1998. Just tell me in narrative form your marijuana usage before March 24, 1998.
I used it one other time besides my incident with my father.
And what incident was that, and where was it, when was it, where'd you get it?
It was, I couldn't tell you the date, sir, but I went on a hunting trip, and some people that I went with had, the people that I stayed with, really, on the hunting trip, their boy had some marijuana, and he had asked me if I wanted to try it, and I told him I would.
Okay, and where was this?
I don't know the town, or sir.
What
It was in
state?
Arkansas.
What was the boy's name?
I don't recall.
Did you ever go buy any marijuana?
No, sir.
Did you ever claim to be a member of a gang?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what gang did you claim to be a member of?
Blood?
And were you in fact a member of the Bloods gang?
Not necessarily, no.
Did you associate with some persons who identified themselves as members of the Bloods gang?
Some, yes.
And where was that association?
In Minnesota.
And did you undergo any initiation rites into the Bloods gang?
No, sir, I haven't.
Were you aware whether the Bloods gang had any types of initiation rites?
Yes, sir.
What was the initiation rites into the Bloods?
To get jumped in.
Did jumped in mean everybody beats them up?
for a certain amount of time.
And could someone be also initiated into the Bloods if it was known that they had killed someone? Was that also a rite of passage?
Objection to the form of the question. For the moment, instruct the witness not to answer based on the Fifth Amendment, and I need to talk with this. He can answer.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Could you
I withdraw my objection. Oh, I apologize. Are we on? Mr. McDaniel, I withdraw my objection.
Could you please repeat the question, sir?
Yes. Did you have an understanding that another means of being initiated into the Bloods gang was for it to be known that an individual had killed someone else?
Objection, no foundation.
Sir, I was told that you'd have two choices. One, to get jumped in, or two, you'd have to kill a Crip, sir.
Okay. And do you know what self-mutilation is?
Yes, sir, I do.
And did you engage in self-mutilation in school?
Objection, vague, request a definition.
What is self-mutilation?
Is when you do bodily harm to yourself, sir.
Okay. And did you do that while you were in school at Westside School?
Not in school, no.
Did you engage in self-mutilation prior to March 24 of 1998 at any time or place?
Yes, sir.
What type of self-mutilation did you engage in?
I had cut on my left arm, sir.
What type of instrument or device did you use to cut upon yourself?
A knife.
And where was this done?
At my home.
In the summer, winter, fall, spring?
It was in the very beginning of spring.
Mr. McDaniel, is there some relevancy to this?
And since it's discoverable, I'm entitled to get it, and I'll demonstrate the law.
I won't object it.
Okay, thank you. And your mother knew about the self-mutilation, didn't she?
After she had sat on my arm, yes, sir.
And you would agree self-mutilation is an indication of some psychological problems for a child. You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Object to the form of the question.
Go ahead and answer. You know that's not normal, don't you?
That
Define
depends.
Sorry. Define psychological problems.
I'll just go by his definition.
No, we're not going to let the deponent define the linguistics of the question.
I'm going to ask you the question, you can answer it or not answer it. You know that if you're engaging in self-mutilation, you have some psychological problems. You know that, don't you?
I'm going to put on the record that the witness will answer a properly asked question which defines self-mutilation.
Go ahead and answer the question as I phrase it, if you will.
I'm going to object to the question as an effort to embarrass the witness.
It's not intended for that at all.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. Would you agree that a child who engages in self-mutilation has psychological problems?
It depends, sir, if he knows what he's doing.
Okay, did you know what you were doing?
Yes, sir, I did.
And if a child knows what he's doing when he's engaging in self-mutilation, does that represent an individual who has psychological problems, in your opinion?
Not necessarily, no.
Objection. Lack of competency to render the opinion.
Did you get confronted at the school about your self-mutilation?
Yes, sir, I did.
And who confronted you at the school about self-mutilation?
My coach.
Did the coach warn you not to do self-mutilation anymore, or you would be kicked off the team?
Yes, sir, it did.
And after the coach warned you not to engage in any further self-mutilation, did you do it again, and he caught you, and then kicked you off the team?
Yes, sir.
And did you then demonstrate to other students that the coach only saw part of the self-mutilation and pull up your shirt and showed other instances of self-mutilation to other students?
Sir, there was only one time.
But did you do that?
The coach had saw it all.
Did you show to other students pulling up your shirt and showing that you had mutilated yourself in places that the coach had not seen?
Objection, no foundation that he ever allegedly mutilated himself in another location on his body.
Go ahead and answer.
Like I said, sir, I had only done it one time.
All right, let's talk about that. You said you'd only done it one time, and that was done at home, right?
Yes, sir.
But then, when the coach saw you had engaged in self-mutilation, he warned you not to do it again, or you'd be kicked off the team, right?
Correct, sir.
You then did do it again, and he kicked you off the team, correct?
What I meant to say, sir, I'm sorry I didn't make myself clear. I had done it on the same spot. It was I had done it twice, sir, but it was on the same spot of my arm.
Did you tell your mother about your second episode of self-mutilation?
After she had caught me, yes, sir.
Did your mother at that time recommend that you get any psychological or emotional counseling?
Not for that, no, sir.
Had you ever been recommended to get psychological or emotional counseling by anyone at any time prior to March 24, 1998?
Well, to his knowledge, since he's a minor, that recommendation may have gone to his parents.
I was asking to him.
To his knowledge.
To your knowledge, had you ever been recommended for psychological or psychiatric therapy or counseling at any time prior to March 24, 1998?
Yes, sir, I have.
When and by whom? And tell me the circumstances of that.
I'm going to object to that for the moment. I want to ask you. Mr. McDaniel, we're going to need the judge.
The judge is no longer available. He's gone.
We're going to need the telephone call then.
I don't think he's going to be available. And by the way, we need to make another statement for the record. And Dustin McDaniel has spoken with the prosecutor, needs to make a statement for the record.
In relation, Dustin McDaniel for the plaintiff.
Off the video record, we'll pick back up and proceed on some other areas.
We are back on the record. It is 3:22 p.m. Counsel.
Mr. Johnson, your attorney has now waived your Fifth Amendment objection and has agreed that I can go back and ask some of the questions that we were stopped on earlier. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Let's just kind of start from the beginning, and you just tell me in story-like fashion, how did this shooting on March 24, 1998 come about? What happened? What brought it all about? Who had discussions about it? What happened?
Well, I can't say why it happened. Honestly, I cannot say that. I can't say that I wasn't mad at nobody, that I didn't mean to kill nobody. That was not my intentions when I went, to begin with, sir.
My question is, and I'll give you a chance, by the way, I understand you want to make a statement at the end of this, and I'll give you a chance to do that. The shooting incident took place. There obviously was some planning, gathering of guns, gathering of camping equipment, staking out a facility, and so on. Tell me about the discussions that you and Andrew Golden had about pulling off this shooting incident. When it started, who decided to do what, who suggested what, who did what. Just tell me what happened from the time it was first discussed that you might do something like this until it was all done.
We first started discussing it in probably around Christmas time in '97, and there was no given reason why, but we had discussed how it would happen, where we get the weapons at, Mr. Golden had asked me if I could help him with it, because he needed somebody to drive for him. And apparently I knew how to drive. And at first I told him yes, I'd help him. And then I changed my mind, because I thought, I knew that I figured something bad could happen. And then we continued talking about it for a while. And it went on like that till I finally decided that I'd help him do his crime. And we had discussed where we get the guns, how we get them, and how I get the transportation and everything. And the week on spring break, right before spring break, we had decided that it's probably going to happen. And then Monday, we confirmed that it was going to happen. We talked to each other and said it was going to happen. And I decided how I was going to get the transportation. I had told a couple people about it. I had warned them that please don't come to school, because I didn't. In case there was a chance of somebody getting hurt, I wouldn't want them to be one of them. And then Monday, went home after school. I took all my books out of my bag, threw them in my bottom drawer. I had packed all my clothes and everything, sir. Had really a normal night, really. Stayed off to myself. Tuesday morning, come around, I woke up. I got dressed and everything. I woke up kind of late on purpose, and my mother asked me to hurry up so I wouldn't miss the bus. And I pretended to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, stayed there till I knew the bus left. And after the bus had left, I had walked outside and put my bag in the van, and I'd walked back into my house and told my mother that I lied and said my stepfather was going to take me to school. And my mom asked me, how's he going to take me to school when he's at work? And I told him he was out in the shop. I had lied and said he was out in the shop. And I had said that he wanted me to come get the keys. And she gave me the keys. And I walked out to the van, started it, and drove. And I stopped because the bus had stopped at my stop again to try and pick me back up. And I never walked out I was in the car, so I didn't walk out, the van. So I didn't walk out to the bus stop. After the bus left, I followed the bus out. I went to the church on Golden's Road. I had stopped, walked down the street, saw Golden. He had asked me where the van was, and I told him I parked it by the church, so if my little brother saw it, because the bus route went past his house, and I said if my little brother wouldn't see it and start questioning and ask what's happening. And he had asked me to go get the van for him, so I went back there and got the van. I parked it, and we had went in. He told me that he needed to throw his clothes and stuff in the van, so I opened the door for him. He threw his clothes in the van, and we decided that we were going to get the guns from Mrs. Golden's gun cabinet, gun safe. And I tried getting in the gun safe, sir, and it didn't happen. It didn't work. And so we decided that Golden said his grandfather had some guns that we could possibly use. And I said, okay. And so we got back in the van. I had drove to Texaco first, sir, because I needed some gas. The van needed gas. I walked out there and accidentally bumped a gas rail, and I was scared somebody might say something, so I took off from there. Didn't even decide to get out and try to pump gas or nothing. And I went down to another went to another gas station to get some more, try to get gas. They wouldn't let me pump there. I went to another gas station. They didn't let me pump there neither. So I said never mind the gas then. So we had drove, and I had parked on a road. Andrew told me to turn, so I turned. He said park here, and we'd go to grandfather's house from here. So that's what I done. I had parked the van. We had got out. We had left all our stuff in there. We had parked, and we started walking. And finally we got to his grandfather's house, sir. And we had jumped over the fence. And he said we're gonna go in the back way. That way nobody will see us. Okay. and the back door was locked, and Golden went and grabbed a crowbar and broke the window out. I reached in there, unlocked the door, and we had went through like that. We walked upstairs, and Golden had asked me to do something. I can't recall what he asked me to do. Go in the other room, and I went in the other room, and by that time Golden had I guess unlocked the deal. However, he unlocked it. He had unlocked the gun cabinet, and he had started pulling weapons out, and he had told me to go back in the other room and get some ammunition. So I went back in the other room, found it. That's what he had asked me to do to begin with. I had to come back and ask him where it was. And I come back, got the ammunition. We had loaded up the guns, and we had started walking to the school. And when we had got to the school, we had set up and everything. We had set up right behind the fence. That way nobody could see us, but there's construction workers and stuff there, and we just stood there. We knelt down, and Andrea went in and pulled the fire alarm, come back out, and that's when the shooting happened, sir.
Okay, let's go back over that and let me ask some questions. Did you drive the van from Doug Golden's house to the vicinity of the school?
No, sir, I didn't drive the van after I parked it to walk to Doug to his grandfather's house.
So once you parked the van, you walked from the van to Doug Golden's house, got the guns, and then walked from there to the area where the shooting took place?
Correct.
And left the van in the same place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many guns did you take from the Doug Golden home, do you know?
8, I do believe.
Okay. When you first went in, was the gun cabinet on the wall, did it have a cable going through the triggers, and was it locked, or do you know one way or the other?
It had a cable going through all the trigger guards, yes, sir, and the cable was connected to a padlock which was locked.
And did you see Andrew unlock the lock?
No, sir, I did not.
But Andrew told you to go to the other room. It was locked, then Andrew told you to go to another room. You did, and you came back, and when you got back, the lock was unlocked. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did Andrew tell you he knew where the key was?
I had saw him replace the key.
You saw him replace the key?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did he replace the key? On a nail?
I do believe so.
Okay. Did Andrew had told you back in Christmas of 1997 that he wanted to do a shooting crime. Is that correct?
Correct.
When he first approached you with this, what did he say first time? I mean, what was the first discussion about that?
I don't remember how we got talking about it, but all I remember was we had got talking about that, and he had asked me if I knew how to drive, and I told him yes, I did, and he had asked me if I could help him drive because he don't know how to drive.
Whose idea in the first place was it to do this shooting incident? Yours or his?
It wasn't mine, sir.
Was it his?
Objection.
Mr. McDaniel, the witness is not going to answer that precise question, but the context is self-evident.
Okay. So at any rate, Andrew Golden discussed with you this idea of shooting people at Westside School. Is that correct?
No, sir, he didn't say shoot. He said scare him, sir.
Okay. And did you know that Andrew Golden was accomplished or had skill with as a shooter?
Sir, I was informed that he knew how to shoot. Yes, sir.
Okay. And had he told you that he was a good shot?
Not necessarily a good shot, but he told me he knew how to shoot. Yes, sir.
And did you know how to shoot a rifle?
Yes, sir.
Had you shot rifles before?
No, sir, I haven't.
You had seen people do it? You'd seen people shoot?
On TV and stuff. I never been there when somebody shot a rifle.
So you knew how to shoot a rifle from watching TV and movies?
Well, I knew how to shoot a shotgun or a gauge. So it's really the same thing almost, sir.
Okay. Had you ever shot a shotgun before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you and Andrew Golden discussed this shooting incident several times before it actually took place.
Correct.
As the time got closer and closer, did you start making plans as to how you were going to actually do this? In other words, who was going to do what, and where you were going to set up, and where you were going to get guns and that sort of thing?
The only thing that I was asked to do, sir, was to help him drive.
Okay. And Andrew Golden then told you he would be in charge of getting the guns.
Yes, sir.
And when you first went to Andrew Golden's home that morning, you walked after having parked the van near a church.
Correct.
And he told you to go get the van and bring it to the house, and you left on foot, got the van, and brought it to the house.
Yes, sir.
In the van at the time of your arrest was camping gear, is that correct?
That I'm aware of, sir. Yes, sir.
When was that loaded into the van?
At Andrew's house, sir.
Did he help you load it?
Yes, sir.
When Andrew Golden asked you to bring the van around, when you got back, did you and he try to steal guns from his own home?
Yes, sir.
Whose idea was that?
It was not mine, sir.
Okay. Was anybody else in the home besides you and Andrew Golden that morning?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
And was there a gun safe in the house or a gun vault in the house?
Yes, sir, there was.
Did you know where that was prior to that day?
No, sir, I did not.
Had you ever been in a home prior to that day?
His home, sir?
Yes.
No, sir.
So, when you and Andrew were in the area of the gun safe, what efforts did you try to make to get into the gun safe?
At first I tried picking the lock, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And it wasn't successful.
Okay. You don't know how to pick a lock?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you have professional lock pick tools?
No, sir, I did not.
Or you just sticking something in there hoping it would open?
Something like that.
Okay. So when you were unsuccessful getting guns out of the gun vault, he came up with the idea that he knew where he could get some guns. Is that right?
Correct.
And you then went to his grandfather's home, that is the home of Doug Golden.
Correct.
When you got into the home of Doug Golden and you observed these guns, they were locked with a cable lock on them when you first got there, and shortly thereafter, Golden had unlocked the lock, and you saw him putting the key back on the nail, correct?
My understanding is, sir.
And then you got guns, and he got guns off the rack, is that correct?
I didn't touch the guns until they were handed to me, sir.
All right, who handed them to you?
Golden did.
Okay. Then what did you all do with the guns?
We had loaded them, sir.
And did you load them with ammunition that you had found in the home?
Yes, sir. Both of us had found.
And where was the ammunition that you retrieved?
If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, he had asked me to go in his grandparents' room and to get, I think it was ammunition. I do believe that's what it was. If I found some, I couldn't honestly say that I remember me finding anything or not. I know there was some above the refrigerator in a cabinet, sir.
Okay. And did you get ammunition? Did you help gather ammunition from whatever source that day?
Yes, sir.
And was that ammunition used in the shootings?
Some of it was, yes, sir.
Okay. Did Andrew help gather ammunition as well?
My understanding, yes, sir.
And was some of that ammunition used as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was the ammunition locked in any facility?
I couldn't honestly answer that question.
When you went to the location in the woods outside the school area, was that a predetermined place, or did y'all just pick the place as you were walking?
I don't know, sir. I wasn't the one who had planned all that out. I don't know.
So
I had just stopped where he had stopped.
So he was walking ahead of you, and when he stopped, you stopped?
Yes, sir.
You did not plan the shooting location?
No, sir.
When you went to the Golden home, was there a locked fence, or did you climb a fence, or was there a problem with any fence getting to the back door?
Yes, sir. As I had mentioned before, me and him had climbed over the fence, a chain link fence, sir.
Okay. Was there any alarm on the home that you heard go off of any kind?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Do you know if the screen door was locked or not?
I don't remember there being a screen door.
Okay. Then, when you got to the area where the shooting was to take place, and when you left the house walking to that point, was there any discussion between you and Andrew Golden about, we're really going to do this, here's what we're going to do? Surely there was discussion at that point. Who said what?
We hadn't said much after we got out the van. And when we had stopped at the house and the officer would come about that the door was locked, I had asked him how we're going to get the door open, and he had I don't know how he found it, but he had found a crowbar, and he had come back and he had broke the back window out of the door, and I had reached in and unlocked the door, sir.
Well, then after you got the guns and headed to the school, what did you all talk about while you were walking up there?
I had mentioned to him that I didn't want nobody getting hurt, and I had mentioned a few names of people I definitely didn't want getting hurt if they had went to school that day.
And who did you mention?
I prefer not to mention names, sir.
All right. What did he say about hurting someone?
He didn't say nothing about hurting anybody.
Did the rifle that you used, I understand it had a telescopic sight?
My understanding, yes, sir, it did.
And you'd watched enough movies and TV that you knew that if you put the crosshairs of a telescopic sight on a person's body and pull the trigger, the bullet would hit them where the crosshairs were, correct?
I've shot through a scope, yes, sir.
So you knew that?
Yes, sir.
So you knew if you put a person in the crosshairs and pulled the trigger and the gun discharged, they were going to be hurt or killed,
Objection, ask and answer.
correct?
If the crosses were set right, yes, sir.
Okay. And you knew that Mr. Golden was an avid hunter and a game and fish warden, didn't you?
Mr. Douglas Golden, sir?
Yes.
Mr. Andrew had told me that his grandfather was game warden, yes, sir.
Okay. So when you went there and you looked through that telescopic sight and pulled the trigger when Shannon Wright was in the crosshairs, you knew that bullet was going to strike her, didn't you?
Objection assumes facts, not evidence.
No, sir, I don't remember me shooting, honestly, sir.
Did you just go into some sort of a blind period when
Yes,
you
sir,
were
I
just
did.
shooting like in a rage?
Yes, sir, basically, yes, sir.
Objection to the characterization.
As the shooting was going on, what did you and Andrew say to each other?
Nothing that I remember, sir.
When you got stopped in the area where the shooting took place, did Andrew leave to go into the school building?
After the shooting took
No,
place, sir?
before the shooting took place. Did he go into the school building to pull the alarm?
Yes, sir.
Did you make him do that?
No, sir.
Did you force Andrew Golden to do anything that day?
No, sir.
Did you aim a gun at him and threaten him that if he did not shoot, you would shoot him?
Sir, I had forced him to do something after the shooting had stopped.
Okay, we'll get to that, thank you. Before the shooting stopped, did you threaten him in any way?
Before the shooting stopped?
Yes.
No, sir, I did not. I remember, sir.
Before the shooting stopped, did you force him to engage in this shooting episode?
No, sir.
When he went into the school, did you know whether he was coming out or not, or did you just assume that he would?
He told me he'd be out, yes, sir.
Okay. And then he did come out.
Yes, sir.
Could you hear the alarm from where you were when Andrew set it off?
No, sir.
After he got back, did he pick up a rifle?
I do believe so, yes.
Then when the children and the teachers started coming out of the building, what happened?
The first shot was fired, sir.
Who fired the first shot?
It wasn't me. That's all.
Was not you?
No, sir, it wasn't.
After the first shot was fired, who fired the second shot?
I believe I did.
Then who fired?
I don't know. I don't remember after that point, sir.
Were there a lot of shots fired in rapid succession?
Objection, asked and answered. Witness said he didn't know.
Go ahead. Were there a lot of shots fired very quickly?
I don't remember, sir.
Okay. After the shooting stopped, what did you and Andrew do at that point?
I was sitting there after the shooting stopped, and Andrew had got up and left, and he had come back and told me to come on. And I guess I got out of my daze, whatever you call it, sir.
You
to
got
be
what?
respectable. To be respectable, I guess I got out of my daze. because that's all I remember. I don't remember the first shot being fired. After the shooting had all stopped, Andrew had left, and then he had come back, and he had yelled my name, and that's when I remember again. And I looked, and I saw a man on the roof of construction, on the construction worker, on the roof, and he was pointing at me. And I guess I knew that my 30-06 was empty, so I picked up my 38 off the ground, and I had fired twice at him. And after that, I picked up all my weapons, and I stuck them in all the pockets I had, and me and him took off running.
Was Andrew telling you to hurry up, come on, let's go, or anything like that?
No, sir.
He just yelled your name and came back for you after he had left?
Yes, sir.
Then you went to the van area?
No, sir. We were running, and we got apprehended.
Okay. After you were apprehended, when did you first learn how many people were killed?
That I honestly remember, probably around 3 or 4 days afterwards, sir.
I think you indicated that at some point you may have forced Andrew to do something or threatened him in some way.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what that was.
Mr. Andrew Golden had stopped, and he said he wasn't going to run anymore. And I had told him that he had got me into this mess and he was going to get me out. And he said he couldn't run no more. And I had put a 38 to his head, and I told him he was coming with me, that he had to go because he was the one that got me into this.
Is Andrew Golden the one that got you into this?
Yes, sir.
And then when after all the shooting stopped and you were running away, you told him he was going to run with you. He was
Say
going to
again,
get you
sir.
out of it.
Say again, please.
After the shooting all stopped and you were running away and he stopped, you put a 38 to his head and told him that since you got me into this, you're going to get me out.
Yes, sir.
And shortly thereafter, you were apprehended.
Very close to that, yes, sir.
Mr. Golden, Mr. Johnson, I'm going to ask you some additional questions. I don't mean these questions to embarrass you, but there's some legal relevance to these questions.
Counsel, could I change the tape? I apologize.
Absolutely.
We're going to pause the time. It is 3:46 p.m. We are resuming the deposition. Time is 3:48 p.m. Counselor?
After you got the guns, did Andrew Golden relock the padlock on the cable, or was it left unlocked? Do you remember?
I couldn't honestly recall, sir.
All right, I'm going to have to ask you some questions now, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but we have to ask some difficult questions.
Go ahead, sir.
You grew up in a home where your mother and your father were divorced, is that correct?
Correct, sir, yes.
How old were you when they divorced?
I'd say I was around 8 when they...
Do you remember what grade you were in?
I was in, I think I was in third when it was all finalized.
And where were you living? What state were you living in at the time?
When the divorce occurred?
Yes.
In Minnesota, sir.
How would you describe your mother and father's relationship before the divorce? Was it a lot of screaming and yelling and fighting, or was it calm and just an agreement to disagree, or was it rather tumultuous?
You might want to define tumultuous.
Or was it a lot of anger and problems?
Sometimes it was calm, sometimes they'd fight over it. Sometimes my dad would, yell and scream, stuff like that.
Was there ever any physical violence between your dad and your mom?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did your father or your mother ever use any physical violence towards you?
No, sir.
When your mother learned of your self-mutilation, what did she do?
She had sit down and asked me what I done first, and I told her. She asked me why, and I told her I didn't know why.
What else happened after that in reference to that?
I'm not really sure after that, sir.
Can you tell me about when that occurred in reference to the shooting? How long before the shooting that occurred?
That's probably about.
Mr. McDaniel, do you mean his mother's knowledge of the mutilation or the mutilation itself?
How long before the shooting did the self-mutilation events occur?
Probably 2 months.
And by that time, you had been suspended or put in school suspension several times, correct?
Throughout my life, yes, sir.
Define several, please.
You mentioned that throughout your life you had in-school suspensions or suspensions. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Tell me the disciplinary problems you had that you remember throughout your lifetime in school. From grade school, from kindergarten on?
I didn't have any problems 1 through 4th, sir. I was a good kid. I made almost straight A's. Then my parents got divorced and I had moved to Kentucky. And that was a rough transition for me. Because it was the middle of the school year. It was Christmas break, sir. And I had started going to a new school. I had adjusted well. And my mama met my stepdaddy. And my mom had got pregnant. And then after a week after she had my little sister, we had moved to Arkansas with my stepfather.
Where in Kentucky did you live?
In London, sir.
What?
London.
What school did you go to?
I don't recall.
Did you have any school discipline problems in Kentucky where there were suspensions or notes sent home or different issues
No,
like
sir.
that? Then you came to Arkansas where your stepmother had married your stepdad, or your mother had married your stepdad.
Correct.
When did you first learn that your stepdad was on parole for federal drug violations? Before they were married or after?
I'm really not sure.
But you knew that when you came to Arkansas.
I'm not for sure if I did or not, sir.
You learned it before the shooting incident.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I did.
Now, had your dad ever tied you to a tree?
You mean his natural father or
Natural
his
father.
stepfather?
Natural father. Had your natural father ever tied you to a tree?
Not that I know of.
Were you ever the subject of an investigation for sexual abuse in Minnesota, where you were accused or potentially accused, or an accusation was made that you may have sexually abused someone else?
Yes, sir, I was.
When was that?
I do believe in 97, sir.
Okay. And did police or social workers come to talk to you or your parents about that?
No, sir. I was brought to them by my father.
Okay. And so then your father knew that you had perhaps done so or accused of doing some sexual abuse on another person. Is that correct?
After a report was filed, they had contacted my father and told him that they'd like to speak with me in Austin, Minnesota. And that's why I had to go up to Austin to make a report, sir.
Okay. So some authorities contacted your father
Yes, sir.
and notified him that a complaint had been lodged against you for committing some sort of sexual abuse act on another person. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So then in response to the request of the authorities, your dad took you to Austin, Minnesota for questioning.
Yes, sir.
All right. Were you ever charged with that event?
Sir, my understanding, the charges have been dropped.
Okay. Were they dropped because you didn't do it, or were they dropped because the family of the victim did not want to pursue it?
I'm not for sure.
Okay. You don't know why they were dropped?
Right, correct. I don't know why they were dropped.
But your dad knew that you had sexually abused someone in Minnesota, correct?
His so-called sexual
Allegedly
Allegedly,
sexually
yes.
abused. I'm going to object to the form of the question.
Did you have sexual contact with another person in Minnesota that brought about an investigation by the authorities in Austin, Minnesota? I'm not going to ask the specifics of who did what.
I'm going to object to that question and instruct the witness not to answer based on his Fifth Amendment privilege.
But at any rate, to your knowledge, did your mother ever learn of that incident?
Yes, sir, she did.
Did you acknowledge to either your mother or your father that you had done something wrong?
I didn't talk about it, sir, no.
Did they press you to get you to explain to them the details of what had happened so they could decide whether you had done something wrong or not?
My dad had told me he knew that I'd done it.
Your dad told you he knew that you had done it.
And I told him he was lying.
Was that the end of it?
No, sir.
What happened next?
That's when I was brought on before the court in Austin, sir.
Was it suggested that you get any psychological counseling or treatment following that event?
Yes, sir, it was.
And who told you to get psychological treatment or counseling?
The court had ordered that I be evaluated.
And was that what court?
Minnesota, sir. They had transferred the evaluation down to Arkansas since I was residing in Arkansas at the time.
Okay. And so were you psychologically evaluated by someone in Minnesota?
I don't remember, sir.
Were you tested? Did you take some psychological tests?
I'm saying I don't remember if it was in Minnesota, sir.
Oh, Minnesota or Arkansas?
In Arkansas, yes, sir, I was.
All right. And where was that done in Arkansas, do you know?
In Jonesboro.
Was it done at a government office or a private psychologist or psychiatrist office, or do you know?
Sir, I think it was private, but I'm not for sure.
Do you remember?
Okay.
Just a minute. Do you remember the name of the doctor?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Well, who was the doctor?
Dr. Prince was his name, sir.
Dr. Michael Prince?
I don't know the first name.
And had you ever had any other psychological counseling or testing other than that episode with Dr. Prince?
I had counseling when I was in 3rd grade because of my parents' divorce. But that's it.
Adjustment counseling because of the adjustment?
I don't know what it was called, sir.
Okay. At any time, did a school counselor, or anyone else recommend to you to get counseling?
A school official? Not that I know of, sir.
Did anyone at school recommend to either of your parents that you get counseling, to you?
I'm not for sure.
Were you aware that Andrew Golden had allegedly told another individual about your plot or plan to conduct the shooting episode? Jonathan Woodard?
Sir, I had heard, it wasn't from Andrew, but I had heard somebody talking about it. It wasn't by him that I was told, though.
It wasn't by Andrew?
No, sir, it wasn't.
Did you hear that Jonathan Woodard had talked about the planned shooting episode?
Yes, sir, I'd heard that.
Who did you hear that from?
I don't recall.
Did you confront or talk to Jonathan Woodard to ask him, why are you saying this, or anything like that?
No, sir, I didn't. Not that I remember, sir.
Who else knew about the planned shooting episode?
Nobody but me and Andrew.
So then your plan, word got out and it got back to you before the plan was ever carried out, correct?
Correct, yes.
Were you ever informed that that plan was revealed to any school or police officials before the shooting actually took place?
Say again, please, sir.
Did you learn that Jonathan Woodard had told somebody at the school, a principal or a counselor or a teacher, about your plan?
I was told That Mr. Jonathan Woodard had told a counselor, yes, sir.
And did the counselor ever approach you to say what's going on?
Not that I remember, sir.
Did
They may
anybody from the school confront you to say, what is this we're hearing about this plan that Jonathan Woodard is talking about, or anything of that effect?
No, sir, because my name wasn't mentioned in it.
How did someone know to tell you about it, about the plan that Woodard was talking about, if your name wasn't mentioned? Who told you?
He didn't come to me and tell me that what had happened. I had overheard him talking to somebody else about it, and I had asked the person what you're talking about, and he had said that somebody had mentioned that Jonathan Woodard had overheard Andrew saying something about shooting the school. He didn't come to me and say, hey, this is what I heard. I had asked him what he was talking about.
So you overheard him talking to someone else saying that Andrew had planned on doing a shooting at the school, and you asked him what he was talking about?
I had heard a person say that, yes, sir.
Okay. Why did you do this? Bottom line question. Why did you shoot these people?
Honestly, guys, sir, I do not know. I haven't found that answer out yet.
Why did you shoot Shannon Wright twice with a 30-06 through a scope?
Sir, like I said at the very beginning, I didn't mean to. I didn't want to shoot nobody, sir.
But when you say you didn't mean to, when you're looking through a telescopic sight that I think is a 7-power sight, and you've got a human being in the crosshairs, and you pull the trigger of a 30-06, you know that's going to kill him or hurt him seriously.
Yes,
You
sir,
know
I
that.
do. Yes, sir, I do know that.
Why'd you do it?
I don't know, sir.
Who were you angry at that would push you to this kind of conduct?
There wasn't necessarily nobody I was angry at, sir.
Were you just angry at the world in general?
In a sense, probably more angry at myself.
Had Miss Wright done anything to you that you felt that she deserved to die?
No, sir. Miss Wright was a very good woman.
Had any of these children who were shot, even the ones that were wounded, but especially the ones who were killed, to your knowledge, had any of those children done anything to you or Andrew Golden that you felt, or he told you that he felt justified in killing them?
No, sir.
Were
Never.
were the kids good kids?
Yes, sir, they were.
Has Andrew Golden ever told you after the fact why he did what he did?
No, sir.
Have you had a chance to talk to him after you were apprehended until today about what happened, why you did it, and what you're going to do about it?
Me and him don't talk about that, sir.
Do you and he see each other at the Alexander unit?
Yes, sir, we do.
Do you get a chance to talk privately, one to the other?
Not necessarily, sir.
You get to spend time together?
Every now and then.
When you were housed at the Craighead County Jail, did you have a chance to talk to him?
No, sir.
Do you agree that you should not sell or attempt to sell any story, movie rights, book rights, or profit from this tragedy in any way? Do you agree with that?
Sir, the only way that I wouldn't agree with it if I give it to Mr. Wright over there and the rest of the victims that I hurt, and give the money that if I were to profit to them.
Okay. When Andrew Golden discussed this plan of shooting people at the school, what went through your mind as to how can he be saying something like that?
Honestly, I thought he was crazy at first, but then, like when I was telling the story of how it happened, like I said, I had struggled with myself to say yes or no, whatever way, because when I first heard about it, I really thought that he was crazy. Not necessarily him, but the idea of it.
You thought the idea was crazy?
Yes, sir, I did.
Because you knew what death was at that point.
Yes, sir.
It's not one of those incidents where you didn't have an appreciation of what somebody being dead was, because you knew what being dead was, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you knew that if you shot an animal with a rifle, it was dead.
Yes, sir.
If you shot a person with a rifle, they might be dead.
Yes, sir.
And that would inflict serious pain, not just on the person shot, but their loved ones.
Very much so, yes, sir.
Did you say on the school bus, I've got a lot of killing to do before this thing happened?
No, sir, I did not.
Sure.
I'm positive.
What was the plan on where you were going to go if you got away? Where were you going to go, or what were you going to do?
Really, the whole plan was just to get away to begin with. You know, it was just to get away from the world and all the struggles and the problems that I had with the world.
Your struggles and problems with the world were very obvious, weren't they?
Yes, sir.
You were a troubled child, weren't you?
Not necessarily troubled. I wouldn't say a troubled child, sir. I say I had problems, but not troubled.
You had problems, and your mom and your dad knew you had
I'm
problems.
going to object to that. Instruct the witness not to answer based on his Fifth Amendment rights.
Hey, Mike, let me speak to you for a second, please.
Mr. McDaniel, I'm going to withdraw that objection if you'll allow the witness to give a full answer. So I may ask you to let him explicate.
Could you please repeat the question, sir?
Your mother and your dad knew that you had had problems in your childhood.
Yes, sir, they knew, and they had told me that I needed help. I just refused it, sir.
Your parents had told you several times you needed to get help, didn't they?
They had offered it to me, and I just wouldn't take it, sir.
What type of help did they offer you?
They had tried to sit down and talk with me, and I wouldn't talk with them. They offered on doctors, and I'd cuss them out and walk out the office on them. Stuff like that, sir.
And would you cuss out your parents too?
Not very often, no, sir.
But you did some.
Once in a blue moon.
Okay. So your parents...
Mr. McDaniel, can we clarify that answer? He said you cuss out and walk out of the office. Were you
I was referring to the
doctor,
sir.
So your parents encouraged you to go to a doctor to get some help for your problems, and that'd be psychological or adjustment problems, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
And then when they would take you to a doctor, you'd cuss the doctor out and leave without getting any help, right?
Most of the time, yes, sir.
And then they would ask you to get help again, and sometimes you'd cuss your parents out.
Sometimes, yes, sir.
And the bottom line was, even though they kept telling you you needed to get help, they never actually got you the help, and you didn't get the help, correct?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence.
So they had offered to help, I just didn't receive it.
And they didn't force you to get it, did they?
At one time, my mama told me, she said, Mitchell, I know you need help. And I told her I didn't want it. I refused to cooperate with her.
What'd she do when you refused? Drop it?
No, she had ground me.
She didn't get you the psychological help that she knew you needed, right?
She tried, sir. I wouldn't accept it.
Did you have access to the internet at your home?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you watch television, VCR movies?
Yes, sir, I have.
What type of VCR movies would you watch at home?
Every kind, sir.
Action movies?
Yes, sir.
The R-rated Sylvester Stallone shoot up everybody type movies?
Yes, sir, them too.
And did you watch a lot of the action type movies where people would be shot and killed?
Some, yes.
Did you ever play any video games where individuals were killed or shot in video games?
No shooting games, but fighting games, yes.
Did you subscribe to magazines at your home?
No, sir. I didn't.
Did your family have magazines at home?
My mother has subscribed to hot rod magazines, car magazines, sir.
Did you write Colby Johnson letters while you've been in custody?
Kobe who, sir?
Colby Johnson.
I don't know Kobe Johnson, sir.
Do you know a kid named Colby?
I know Kobe Thompson. Yeah, I know a Kobe Thompson.
Colby Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you write Colby Thompson letters while you were in custody?
Once.
Do you remember what the letter said?
I'm not for sure. I can tell you Kobe's not from Jonesboro.
Where does Colby live?
He's from Paragould, sir.
Do you still have his address? Do you still correspond with him?
No, sir. I lost contact with him.
Do you don't know how to reach him?
No, sir. I don't.
Did you write Colby a letter do you know a Colby Brooks?
Yes, sir. I do.
Who is Colby Brooks?
He was a friend of mine.
Did you ever write Colby Brooks any letters?
Yes, sir. I have. Many.
Okay. And who are his parents? Do you know?
I'm not for sure of their names, sir.
Do you know if he's related to any of the kids that were shot at Westside?
I do believe that he was Natalie Brooks' cousin, but I'm not for certain for that, sir.
Did you write some child named Colby a letter admitting that you did the shooting?
Yes, sir.
Did you write some child named Colby a letter admitting that you like to listen to rap music and that because of the shooting you would not get to go to a prom or have sex or kiss a girl for the next 7 or 8 years?
Yes, sir. I did write that.
And you concluded that by saying, and why?
Yes, sir. I did.
Almost a rhetorical question. Why? Right?
Objection.
Okay.
I'm not sure
I'll
that
refer-
the
I'll
witness
refer.
understands the meaning of rhetorical.
Tell me what you meant when you said, I won't get to go to a prom, never have sex or kiss a girl for 7 or almost 8 years, and why? What did you mean by the and why?
And why I was referring to myself that I knew I was wrong for what I done. I knew that I took innocent people's lives for no reason of my understanding, and I was referring to myself, and that was a way of me saying I'm sorry, sir.
Okay. Did you say in a letter to Colby that I have the same pain y'all have?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you say in a letter to Colby, I lost friends like y'all did? The only difference is I was the one doing the killing?
Yes, sir, I did. May I be allowed to explain myself?
Yes, sir.
The reason I wrote that, I had said the only difference is I was the one that lost their lives by my hands. That's what I meant by that. It wasn't no disrespectful thing. I meant by that, sir, just to clarify myself.
In fact, the people lost their lives not just by your hand, but also by the hand of Andrew Golden, correct?
Yes, sir.
What size shoe did you wear that year?
9.5, 10, sir.
Do you know what size shoe Andrew wore?
No, sir.
Had you ever killed a cat before March 1998?
No, sir.
Had you killed any animals just to be killing them?
Objection. Vague. What is the phrase, just to be killing them?
I'll rephrase it. Had
The
you
witness
ever,
has testified that he went squirrel hunting, I believe.
other than a hunting exercise,
No, sir.
have you ever killed any animals?
No, sir.
Have you ever shot target practice with a rifle, shotgun, or pistol?
Yes, sir, I have.
Tell me about your experience in target practicing.
Really, sir, it ain't much to say. I mean, I shot, to see where how my accuracy was
And when did you do that?
all through my life.
And did you do that with the knowledge of your parents?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you ever do it in their presence?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what type guns did you use?
I used my pellet gun, as I was referring to in my statement in the journal, and I've used my 20 gauge also,
And a pellet gun is like a BB rifle, but
Yes,
more
sir.
powerful.
in a sense, yes, sir.
And you aim it like you do a regular rifle and pull the trigger and a projectile goes out and hits the target, correct?
Yes, sir.
Would it be fair that if you can shoot a pellet gun accurately, you can shoot a real rifle accurately?
In some sense, yes.
Okay. Did you tell a young girl named Vanover that you had a lot of killing to do on the bus? I want to see if you...
Objection asked and answered.
Go ahead.
No, sir, I did not.
Did you listen to music at school against the handbook rules?
Yes, sir, I have.
Did you get in trouble for that?
The teacher asked me to please take my headphones off.
And did you repeatedly listen to the music you've been told time and again?
No, sir, I took it off.
After you were in jail, did you destroy some of the property at the Craighead County Jail?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did you destroy?
They said I destroyed the sprinkler. I can't say I destroyed it. I set it off.
Did you kick the sprinkler?
No, I hit it with my shoes, sir.
Have you ever been the victim of sexual abuse?
Objection. Withdraw my objection.
Have you ever been the victim of sexual abuse?
Yes, sir, I have.
Was that sexual abuse made known to your parents?
After the shooting incident, yes, it was.
How old were you when you were the victim of sexual abuse?
I was probably around 8 or 9, sir. 7 or 8 or 9, one of those 3 years.
Was the person who perpetrated the sexual abuse a family member?
No, sir, it was not.
Did you obtain any help or counseling for that?
No, sir. I didn't tell nobody until after the shooting incident, sir.
What did Andrew Golden tell you about his grandfather, Douglas Golden?
Sir, all he had told me is that he was a game warden.
Did he tell you anything about his hunting experiences with his grandfather?
No, sir.
Did he tell you about his shooting experiences with his grandfather?
No, sir.
He did tell you that he knew where he could get guns, and that was at his grandfather's house?
Yes, sir, he did say that.
Then you went to the grandfather's house and you did get the guns?
Correct.
There had been times that other children had been told not to play with you, correct?
Sir, I couldn't honestly say that.
Well, did other kids tell you that, hey, I'm not supposed to play with you?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Had you ever talked about suicide before March 24 of 1998?
Yes, sir.
How many times?
Once that somebody heard about it
And when and where was that?
in Minnesota.
And did they tell your parents?
Not until after the shooting.
Who found out about it in Minnesota? Who heard about it in Minnesota?
Oh boy, who I used to hang around with, sir.
Who was that?
His name was Andrew O'Rourke.
Andrew what?
O'Rourke, sir.
O'Rourke?
Yes, sir.
Did you get into fights when you were a youngster?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you frequently get into fights when you were in grade school?
Objection defined frequently.
I'll rephrase it. How often would you get into fights before March of 1998?
And before the 5th grade, sir, only time I fought was to defend myself. When I was in London, Kentucky, I used to get jumped a lot by some 9th graders, sir.
Okay. After you came to Arkansas, you got in a lot of fights, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I did.
And were you the aggressor in some of those fights? Did you start some of those fights?
Some of those fights, yes, sir, I did.
Huh?
Yes, sir, I did in some of them.
Okay. And
Just a moment, Mr. McDaniel.
in the 7th grade, how many fights do you think you had while you were in the 7th grade before the shooting?
A couple, sir.
And when you would have these fights, would they be on the school grounds or somewhere else?
Both, sir.
And were your parents notified that you're fighting at school?
No, sir.
Did your parents learn about your fights, or your mom or your dad?
If I tell my little brother about it and they overhear me, yes.
So they knew from whatever sources that you'd had several fights.
Some, yes, sir.
Did you ever brag about smoking heroin and marijuana?
I know, sir, I'm not aware you can smoke marijuana, sir, or heroin, sir.
Did you ever brag that you had used heroin?
I told some people I know about heroin.
Did you ever tell anybody you had used heroin?
I don't think I have.
Did you ever leave the try to say things so that you would leave the impression upon others that you had used heroin? Like trying to kind of be a big shot?
I could say so, yes. Yes, sir, I could say I did.
Okay. Did you tell other children you had used marijuana frequently?
I never used marijuana frequently, sir, and I can't recall that I said that.
To your knowledge, were you ever described by law enforcement officials as being a troubled child?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence. Lack of competency. Lack of foundation.
I'm asking you what he knew.
Sir, I don't know, I couldn't honestly say that, I'm not for sure.
Well, go ahead with what you were about to say when you said I was in.
I was in some trouble in Minnesota over a fight I got into.
When was that, and what was that trouble?
A boy had threatened me over some gang-related stuff, and I had told him that quit being a scaredy cat and come out in the street and said, because he was on his property when he said that, sir. And I had threatened him that I was gonna beat him up, and he had called the cops on me. And I was out playing with some friends of mine later on that night around 10 o'clock. That night when it was well after dark, and a police officer had rolled up on the lot we were playing football on, and everybody ran but me, and he had called my name out, so I stopped. And sir, he had asked me what's my problem with that kid I threatened, and I told him he had threatened me.
Was this contact with the police communicated to your mother or your father?
Not that I'm aware of.
Had you had other contact with the police that you've not told me about?
No, sir, not that I remember.
Do you know whether or not the police ever went to your mother's home and a .357 Magnum was on the table when they got there?
Temporal.
Anytime.
Sir,
State. Just a minute. What state?
Anytime or any place are you aware that the police ever came to your mother's home and it was a .357 Magnum on the table?
This includes his residency in Minnesota, Kentucky.
Any time or place, yes.
Sir, I was aware that my mother used to own a .357, but it had went missing after we had moved to Kentucky, and I was told that a police officer had walked in my house in Arkansas and saw it on the table, which I know was not true because my stepfather can't be around guns, period. And my mother ain't that type of person to break law, so.
Were you aware that your father held a press conference in June of 1998 and made statements to the press about you after the shooting incident occurred? Were you aware of that?
Objection. Stepfather and natural father.
That's a proper objection. Let me rephrase it. Were you aware that your father, Scott Johnson, had held a press conference on June 17, 1998 and made statements about you to the press?
Sir, could you tell me what What he has said or what station it was on, sir?
Did your father, to your knowledge, ever make the statement to the press that he had sought to get you help over the past couple of years, that you were a troubled child, and he was not able to convince the authorities to get you help or something to that effect?
I'm not for sure if he said that or not, sir.
There's a fellow whose name is surfaced by the name of Tom Firth. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Yes, sir, it does.
Did Tom Firth ever actually represent you as a lawyer, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I thought he did, sir. Yes.
Okay.
But may I clarify something?
Yes, sir.
During this the judicial proceedings, sir, I was court-appointed Mr. Bill Howard to be my attorney at law to represent me, and my father had hired Tom Firth, and I can't say that he was officially appointed to be my attorney also, so I can't say, but I know that my father had hired him, yes.
Do you know how it is your father got in touch with Tom Firth or vice versa to get him involved in the case?
Sir, no, I don't.
Have you given any interviews to anyone about what happened at the Westside shooting?
No, sir, I have not.
Who all have you told about what actually happened? Like you told us today what happened, besides your attorney, Mr. Roberts,
Objection.
or some other attorney?
Excuse me, I've got to object to that because if he answers that question fully and completely, he'll violate a gag order extant in another court of another sovereign.
I'll modify it. Other than to one of your attorneys or to officials connected with a federal court or in a proceeding related to a federal court, have you discussed the actual shooting event at Westside with anyone?
Sir, I've discussed it with my counselors who counsel me, sir. Yes, I have.
Who are your counselors and where are they?
I have, since I've been incarcerated to Alexander Youth Services, we are, I was assigned to a doctor by name Dr. T.J. Rainey, and he is my therapist while I stay there, while I'm at Alexander, and I've told him about it, sir.
Did the self-mutilation result in any scars?
Yes, sir, it has.
How many scars do you have on your body from self-mutilation?
6, I do believe.
Okay. Where are they located?
On my left arm, sir.
Excuse me one moment. Do you know if your mother was notified on the morning of March 24, or whether or not she became aware that the van was missing before the shooting took place?
Sir, could you please repeat the question?
Yes. To your knowledge, did your mother learn that the van was gone before the shooting took place?
I had told her that my father was going to take me to school, yes, sir.
And you asked her for the keys and she gave them to you?
Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, did she check or make any effort to check to see if what you were telling her was true?
Objection, ask and answer. The witness previously testified that he lied to his mother.
Object to speaking objections. To your knowledge, did your mother ever check to see if what you were telling her was true?
Not that I know of, sir.
Had you ever driven the van without authority before?
Objection, ask and answer.
My mother has asked me to drive the van down to the end of our driveway to shut off the water a couple times, but she knew about it, sir.
Did you ever drive the van by yourself without permission before?
No, sir, I have not.
Were you up on the night before the shooting, somewhere around midnight to 1 or 1:30 in the morning, rumbling about or doing things?
No, sir, I was in the bed asleep.
May I have one more? pass the witness.
Why don't we take a break, let everybody get.
That's fair. 5 minutes.
Please, thank you.
We're going to adjourn the deposition. The time is 4:29 PM. We are back on the record. The time is 4:41 PM. Counselor.
Thank you, sir.
Mitchell, my name is Randall Miller. I represent your mother, Gretchen Woodard.
Yes, sir.
And I just have a few questions to ask you about, pretty much about your relationship with your mother and how things were at home before this incident occurred. Prior to the shooting, how long had you lived at the home that you were at?
I'd say 2 years, I do believe, sir.
And during those 2 years, was your mother working outside the home?
No, sir.
So she was a stay-at-home mom.
Yes, sir.
And I think you had a brother and a sister that lived with you also.
Yes, sir.
What's their names?
Monty Johnson and Jesse Woodard, sir.
And then other than that, your stepfather also lived with you.
Yes, sir.
Did your mother love you?
Yes, sir, very much.
Did your mother try to provide a loving and caring home for you?
Always, sir.
Objection. Call for conclusion, speculation, assumption, not evidence.
Always, sir. Yes, sir.
In the morning, before you went to school, did your mother always make sure you got up and went to school?
Yes, sir, she did.
And on the day that this incident occurred, you made sure that your mother didn't know that you weren't going to school.
Correct.
You lied to her.
Yes, sir, I did.
You covered up where you were and where you were going.
Yes, sir.
Now, prior to that, I understand that you'd been in some fights.
Yes, sir, I was.
Did you tell your mother about those?
No, sir.
In fact, did you try to conceal those from her?
Yes, sir, I'm doing my best to.
And as far as some of the discipline problems or other problems that you had, did your mother try to help you deal with those?
Yes, sir, she did.
How did she do that?
She'd offer me advice herself. She'd take me to recommended doctors, and I wouldn't listen to them. I'd cuss them out and walk out on them. We'd get home, I wouldn't talk to my mother.
But your mother did try to sit down with you and talk to you and counsel you to do better.
Her best efforts, yes.
Objection. Calling for the conclusion, stating the conclusion.
Now, you were also asking some questions about being a victim of sexual abuse.
Yes, sir, I was.
When that incident occurred, were you residing with your mother?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you living with your mother or your grandmother?
We moved to my grandmother's house, and my mother had moved in with my grandmother.
You were living at your grandmother's house?
Yes, sir. It was my grandmother's house.
And no one there knew what had occurred?
No, sir.
And in fact, again, you didn't reveal that to anyone until after the shooting?
Correct.
Now, at your home, again, prior to the shooting, how many televisions did you have?
One, sir.
One for the whole household?
Yes, sir.
Where was it?
In the living room, sir.
And no computer?
No, sir.
Prior to the shooting, how were your grades at school?
A's and B's, sir, most of the time. I had a C in science my first 9 weeks of 7th grade, but I had pulled it up to an A, I do believe.
And what other activities were you involved in at school?
I played football, 6th and 7th grade, and I made the basketball team in 7th grade, sir. And I was also in the choir at school.
And while you were at home and around your mother, did you ever make any threats of harming someone?
No, sir.
And not just of shooting someone, but making any threats of violence toward other people?
No, sir, not around my mother, no.
Try to be on your best behavior around her?
Yes, sir, I did.
Mitchell, is there anything that your mother could have done to have prevented this from occurring?
Objection, calling for speculation and conclusion, and assuming facts not in evidence.
No, sir, I didn't let my mother know that this was even entering my mind. I didn't leave no evidence at my house that anything like this were to occur.
In fact, even in thinking about this and the events leading up to it, did you really think something was going to occur?
I figured in time, yes, sir.
I mean, did it seem real to you?
Yes, sir.
But you still don't know why you wanted to do it?
Why? No, sir, I don't know why it happened.
Now, in the events leading up to this shooting, did you act any different at home?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
In other words, your routine pretty much went on the same in the months leading up to this as it had for the months, for the years before this.
Yes, sir, pretty much.
No substantial change in your attitude.
Not much, no.
And Mitchell, are you sorry that this occurred?
Very much so. I regret it every day of my life. I pray every day for the victims. I hope and I pray that God bless them to help heal. Because I've lost, but not by no means, not by what they lost by. And I am sorry. By the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry.
And of course, you've also hurt your family.
Yes, sir. Not as much I hurt the victims, though.
No other questions?
Before the day of the shooting, did you ever met Andrew's grandfather, Doug Golden?
No, sir.
Did you ever been to his home before you entered on this day by taking the crowbar, or somebody taking the crowbar and breaking the window and breaking in?
No, sir. I've never been to his house, no. Before that.
No question, no question. No questions.
A couple of follow-ups.
Just a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Johnson, I represent you in a certain federal criminal proceeding, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that I also represent your father as well as you in this civil proceeding, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I have just two questions. Did Scott Johnson, your father, do anything that caused you to do this shooting?
Object, calling for conclusion and speculation, and asking him to assume facts not in evidence.
You may answer.
No, sir.
Do you have something you want to say to the people in this room?
Like I said before, I pray for y'all every day. I truly am sorry for what I done. And if I ever do find out why, I will let y'all know. However, that I am sorry. And I know I can't ever take it back. And a life is the most precious thing you can have. And I am sorry.
Mr. Johnson, you were asked some questions about your relationship with your mother. Did your mother keep up with you pretty closely?
Pretty closely, yes.
So then your mother must have known you were in the gang up in Minnesota.
No.
How can you be in a gang like the Crips and nobody know about it?
Objection. I don't think there's any testimony that it was in the gang. Said he associated with gang individuals.
Mike, I'm going to have to object now to speaking objection.
Objection. Objected before. Assumes facts not in evidence.
Okay, that's fine. Speaking objections are inappropriate. Were you a member of the gang?
No, sir, I was
Did
not.
you hang out with people who were members of the gang?
I talked to some, yes.
And you were playing football at night, as I understand, one time when the police came up to talk to you?
Yes, sir, they did.
Did your mother know about your gang-related activities?
No, sir, she did not.
So you were doing things that would be very questionable in terms of good behavior, and your mother didn't know about them. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
And did you go to church when you moved to Jonesboro?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to a Baptist church. I'm not sure the name of it, sir.
So then you knew this kind of conduct was totally unacceptable, and you did it anyway.
Yes, sir.
When I had to sit down, my knees hurting. When Mr. Miller asked you about your mother not knowing about the fights, you did in fact tell your mother about some of the fights, didn't you?
No, sir, I did not. She overheard me speaking to my little brother about the fight, sir.
And your mother learned of some of the fights from the school, didn't she?
When I was suspended, yes, she did.
And your mother would have known if you had a black eye or bloody nose, she would have known about that, wouldn't you?
Normally, I didn't, sir.
Normally you didn't, sometimes you did, didn't you?
When I got suspended, I did.
Okay, that's all. Oh, do you have any problem, do you have any objection to us getting a copy of your school records?
No, sir.
Do you have any problem with us getting a copy of your counseling records? Since you're so sorry what happened, I'm sure you want to help these people any way you can.
It don't, no, sir, it don't bother me, none.
What about your police records? Do you have any objection to us getting a copy of your complete police records?
No, sir.
Okay, that's all.
You're not talking about access to his federal records.
No, not as federal.
His federal records are not accessible.
Yeah, I understand. That's all.
This will end the deposition. The time is 4:58 p.m.
What about,
Ladies and gentlemen, just in 1 minute. We want to take about 5 minutes to get these boys and get out of the building.